Good morning, everyone. Let me really introduce myself. My name is Sara Kachiki, and I'm grateful to be here. Today, I'm going to be talking about our project titled Intelligent Digital Tutor to Assemble Puzzles and based on artificial intelligence techniques. My presentation is divided into four parts. First, I will introduce you to the topic. Then we will look at methodology, which are the phases of this work. After that, the results, and finally, discussion and conclusions. So let's start with the context. The development of technologies in the world has increased, requiring people who are competent in areas such as science, technology, engineering, and mathematics (STEM) skills. So, according to our Office of the Chief Economist of the United States, STEM occupation have increased over the past 10 years by almost 24.4%. In this context, the automation of the human learning process is presented as a tool for developing STEM skills. STEM skills. Some authors point out the personalized tutors significantly improve learning process. Results show improvement about 90%, but this field still being explored. In this research, image processing is an important component since it allows interaction with the decision-making system based on artificial intelligence techniques. So, the general diagram block, it contains the phases of this work. First, we have the image acquisition. Second, we have image processing. Third, image segmentation. Fourth, we have artificial intelligence stage that is composed by recognition, system of puzzles, and search algorithm. And finally, we have the graphic interface that is the tool. So, the methodology of this work is it was developed in several phases, integrating image processing, machine learning, and search algorithm. So we have the image acquisition and preprocessing. The acquisition system and image preprocessing is understood by puzzle selection, image acquisition, and preprocessing. The pieces of the puzzle contains geometric figures of pictorial type, strong primary colors, and level of complexity appropriate for children. So we have the Kinect 2 version 2 camera was chosen for its outstanding features, including image resolution, field of view, computer connection, and compatibility with the OS. The result of this capture is point cloud. So finally, the region of interest function is implemented to constrain the object in space. Due to this, ranges are defined in the space associated with the x, y, and z coordinates. Then it is filtered in a space using specific plane function. Is a function from MATLAB, which is a variant of the Ransomware algorithm, where the maximum distance of the point cloud are adjusted and returns a geometric model and that describes the plane. Additionally, we have the indices that are in and out of the plane. So finally, we have image is a new image with the pieces of the skin, which are eliminated with the HSV region. We will see this part in more detail in next slide. So we have for the segmentation image, the HSV region is applied in an image that is indicated. This image contains pieces of the skin that correspond to subject's hand. So the second image is it corresponds to the mask region mask. So the ranges of skin are the three hole between. between 0 and 0.07 for hue, and 0.1 and 0.52 for saturation, and 0.3 to 0.085 for value. So after applying the mask, the correctly cemented puzzle piece is obtained an image with only puzzle piece. So in machine learning process, once the descriptor we have a raw information of each image is obtained, they have a great dimensionality. This makes difficult the training of the classifier. To carry out the dimensionality reduction of the image, PCA was applied. Before converting the image into descriptors, an artificial database is developed, which is what can be seen in the image. The database contains of each piece of puzzle. The size of them is 50 times 50 times 3. The information organized in data structure as follows. That data of image are 12,000 times 7,500. Data of the labels correspond to each image per number. So we have piece 1 and the label correspond to number 1, and we selected the PCA number is 30 since it allowed learning the neural network in less time. So we have the PCA descriptors 30 times 12,000. So finally we have machine learning. We have recognition of the puzzle. For the recognition of the puzzle piece, in the digital tutor, an artificial network is developed, which are networks that simulate the ability of the human. We have the neural takes that descriptors received from PCA process as inputs, which contains the main information from the puzzle image database, and returns the labels to correspond to selected pieces. So in this tutor, an artificial neural network called NewFF was used, which is a fit for backpropagation. This function requires the input arguments like image information referring to descriptor resulting from PCA, topology of the net, functions to activate layers and at the spectral labels associated to each input descriptor. So finally, we had the neural network needs to learn patterns corresponding to each piece of the puzzle. So we have two in descriptors image. We can have that descriptors with techniques like image histogram, converting color spaces, PCA, etc. So there are several uniform search strategies. The use in this tutorial is breadth first search. This type can be implemented for actions that have the same cost and for problems that do not have highly complex searches, such as problems made erroneous, missing errors, and cannibal fraud, etc. So in this search, takes a strategy that the first parent knows. We call father, yes, expanded, expanded with the first in, first out principle, and successor list is created by its physical connection with its father. So in this sense of the assembly order, subsequently its successor knocks. That the image show us an example of the algorithm with an example of this algorithm. So for experimental results, we have the result obtained in terms of PCA. Is used to reduce the number of neurons with aim to improve the system performance at the processing time level. The result is a descriptor of 30 elements, therefore a reduction to 250%. we can see that in this graph, this graph is related to the effects of varying the dimension of the descriptor using PCA algorithm is presented. The results show that with a lower degree of dimensionality, around 30 PCA, the growth does not increase proportionally as PCA components are added. So for artificial neural network, the result of this is for three layers have been defined as a universal classifier. The number of neurons in the input layer is the dimension defined in the PCA algorithm, and the number of neurons is the output layer is the number of the pieces of the puzzle. In this case, 12. This approach limits the possible test to the number of neurons in intermediate layer. Result using 3, 4, 6, 12 neurons respectively allows it to define the network topology that generates greater precision in prediction. Is the 30, 12 network that correspond to input neurons, neurons in the intermediate layer, and neurons in output layer. So finally, we have the confusion matrix of the artificial neural network. Is developed to assess the performance of the model. The configuration of the neural network confusion is defined by 12 times 12. Since the puzzle has 12 pieces from this analysis and learning accuracy of the 92.7% and an error of 7.3% are retained. The results presented is a confusion matrix allowed to determine the correct working of the neural network. So we can see this in this image. So for this general search algorithm has presented, in this case the level of complexity is low, and uniform search is defined. So finally, the results obtained in terms of graphic interface are with the proposed system. 5 moments are identified. The first moment takes 25 seconds and consists of capturing the image and the scene. The second moment takes less than 20 seconds and consists of segmenting the capture image. The third stage takes less than 10 seconds and consists in identify the puzzle piece by training neural network. And finally, the last stage takes less than 5 seconds, and it consists of generated suggestion of assemble G by means of the search algorithm. So we have the total system in average takes of 25 minutes to assemble the puzzle. So a total 25 tests were performed with different people in a range of 3 to 11 years. It should be known that the experimentation tests were carried out of a computer with Windows 10 OS, with Windows 10 OS, 8 GB of RAM, and an Intel Icai processor. So all this project was developed in MATLAB, in a program, in MATLAB program. So finally, we have discussion and conclusions. The use of some artificial intelligence techniques such as neural networks requires an initial knowledge base. In this case, it was necessary to develop that data set, because the case study is a particular puzzle. However, the possibility of developing an approach to transfer learning is presented as interesting feature here. So we have, since a neural network is configured at the central truth that identifies the piece in space, it is necessary to convert the image as a descriptor using an image descriptor is impractical, so we have to do PCA algorithm in a descriptor. So therefore, the decision-making algorithm based on algorithm search was also a challenge, as required being flexible to fit the size of the general process for this problem and 12 busy search problem. So that's all. So if you have any question, we can ask then in this part of the presentation, or send me an email to this address. I'll be happy to answer any question. Thank you for the space provided. Thank you so much for